Yeah. All fruitless is the cry, all vain this burning fire of desire. The sun goes down to his rest. There is gloom in the forest and glamour in the sky. With downcast look and lingering steps, the evening star conies in the wake of departing day, and the breath of the twilight is deep with the fullness of a farewell feeling. I clasp both thine hands in mine and keep thine eyes prisoner with my hungry eyes, seeing and crying, where art thou? Where, oh, where? Where is the immortal frame hidden in the depth of thee, as in the solitary star of the dark evening sky? The light of heaven, with its immense mystery, is quivering. In thine eyes, in the depth of their darkness, there shines a sole beam, tremulous with a wide mystery. Speechless, I gaze upon it, and I plunge with all my heart into the deep of a fathomless longing. I lose myself. So let's take a pause and then we, one by one, we can share. Yeah, so whenever we are ready, I think we can dare to resonate or share our resonance with this one, because when I was going through, it's not one of those where it's very clear. Some of them are very very, like, as if you feel that you resonate very deeply with each line. But this one was, I found it a little sophisticated, although there were meanings in between which I could relate to. But why not, dare to kind of plunge into this? So please go ahead and, yeah, whenever anyone is ready, Swapna, Shweta, Unniji, please go ahead, share your reflections.
So I just read it 2 3 times. Yeah, it's like very confusing. But what the gist I could feel is, what I could understand is, it just speaks about how this path is infinite, and the more and more I understand, I realize that less and less I know, and it just goes on and on. So I have to lose myself, and that's what I could just just as a summary I could understand, not like sentence by sentence or word by word.
Yeah, very interesting. And I think I can resonate with what you are saying. Yeah. This one, the last line where he says, and I plunge with all my heart into the deep of a fathomless longing, I lose myself. And I absolutely resonate when you say that the more we get to know, the more we dive deeper, we see that there is no end to this. And from far off, one may see that, okay, let us go there, explore, and then we will stumble upon some one thing, which will be the end of the search and, the mystery and the adventure. But then the deeper one goes, one realizes that there is more, there is more, there is more, there is more, and the
Y-
mystery continues. Yeah.
yeah, and even the beginning 2 3 lines, no, it just says that, all fruitless is the cry, all vain this burning fire of desire. The sun goes down to his rest. You know that this is all, you have to finally, like, this won't give you the high you're looking for, or the peace basically. And yet, the more you get into this path of, finding it, you realize, okay, like, okay, one layer down, then another, then it's an infinite path.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, I think desire, when just kind of thinking out loud, it may not be the correct most, thing that we discuss here, but I'm still daring out to explore. So, this desire, whenever we talk of desire, I think in the last sessions also we were talking about desire, that desire is something from the past. So I have an image, even about, for example, if it's a spiritual path, I have an image that this should happen in this way and that way, and this is what I should, achieve in my being. So that desire is all coming from the images, mental images I may have about the spiritual path or the life in general. And there also it comes again and again, we are kind of, hammered by life's experiences, and it's good that we are hammered, that it's vain, this burning fire of desire, and as if I want to reach, not really an unfolding of life, not to really open to an unfolding of life, but to reach and to an end, that in education everything is a means to an end. So why do school? So that you can do college. Why do college? So that you can get a job and settle down. And here also spiritual path also becomes like a means to an end, that why am I on the spiritual path? So that I have, this image in my mind, and that should be fulfilled. So that desire is all vain. It's a realization almost that all vain, this burning fire of desire. And desire burns, whenever we have, if we have tasted what desire does, this ambition and desire in the being. It says, all vain, this burning fire of desire, all fruitless is the cry. The sun goes down to his rest. There is gloom in the forest and glamour in the sky. With downcast look and lingering steps, the evening star conies in the wake of departing day, and the breath of the twilight is deep with the fullness of a farewell feeling. Now, again, it is for up to see what really he is referring to, maybe an episode in his life, and then making a greater meaning out of that episode. Definitely, that is usually the origin of most verses or poems, that we go through some experience in our life and then we connect it to a universality, that a little experience connects us to universal pain or, a universal richness. I clasp both thine hands in mine and keep thine eyes prisoner with my hungry eyes. seeing and crying, where art thou? Oh where, oh where? Where is the immortal flame hidden in the depth of thee? Because I can't see it, I can't see it. Where is the immortal flame? As in solitary star of the dark evening sky. Again, this line I found very, very beautiful personally, because as if, the dark and gloom many a times of life that we live, challenges that come across in our on our way. Uh, uh, yeah, sorry, I lost the line. Yeah, as in the solitary star of dark evening sky. So that immortal flame that he is referring to, that shine of the divine within, that is something like he's almost making an illusion here, solitary star of the dark evening day. So evening sky, so it's a evening sky, things are dark, challenging, and yet that immortal flame is a bringer of hope in that evening sky. It's a solitary star, that immortal flame, which is hidden in the depth of the light of heaven with its immense mystery. That's what Shweta touched upon, this light of heaven. The more we know ourselves, the more we know that we don't know about ourselves at all. As if we are entering into a bottomless pit, a bottom. When we say, the divine is infinite, and when we go into this limited body, we have these inward going of consciousness. We see that that's also fathomless. There is no end to it, that you reach an end point and you say, okay, I'm done. That's the beauty. So the light of heaven with its immense mystery is quivering in thine eyes in the depth of their darkness. So yes, the darkness is also there, but the light of the spirit, that immortal flame, cannot be hid. It's there, it's there. Although it's there like a solitary star in dark evening sky, but it's there. Yeah. In thine eyes, in the depth of their darkness, there shines a soul beam, tremulous with a wide mystery. Speechless, I gaze upon it, and I plunge with all my heart into the deep of a fathomless longing. I lose myself. That I think it almost refers to that when we start on this path, it feels like the ego is going to achieve something. That's the mental images that I am carrying from our previous life, the life that I've lived. But slowly it seems that it's not like that. It's like you have to just lose yourself into this vast mystery. You will never be able to grasp the mystery, because our hands are too limited, our understanding too limited. One can only beautifully immerse oneself back into this mystery of consciousness, the mystery of universe, and the mystery of who we truly are. So yeah, very mystical, I found. And please, I would invite more reflections if there is anything.
Can I? Uh, I when I was going through, first of all, I didn't catch much in the first reading, but as I go through it, I find reflections from the last session when we discussed this in between position of today, nowness, the fears of the past and anxieties of the future. So how important it is to be in the present. Now the choice of dusk, which is actually between the day and the night. The day's fears are with you, the night's anxieties are with you. And without that, how do you handle that particular point in time where the light is still there, darkness has not come? So the choice of that point in time dwells well with that idea of the nowness, how you must look at the present and not so much get worried about the past and the anxieties of the future. That is at one level. The other, and therefore he looks at the star and finds things that he can find something there, etc. At another level, I also see perhaps the choice of the timing has also something to do with the Indian practice of choosing the time. Most of the religious practices choose that time as the time of prayer. So therefore, it is we seek the unknown at that time. Not so therefore he chooses that time to indicate that this choice is being done at this time in the religious practices, religious or mystical, whichever way you want it, spiritual, whichever way you want to call it. And therefore the timing and the star, I particularly like the selection of the solitary star, because in many places when you do the prayers or take the spiritual practice, you have a lamp lit, and that is the center of your focus, of your attention when you do your practice, whether it is a prayer, whether chanting, whatever. So if you put all together, so I feel that he's looking at a, a seeker trying to find out what he is seeking, and there is a frustration because it is not readily available, even though there is a sense that there is something there. So that frustration, and that, if you can call it as frustration, you can call it as joy, you can call it as immersion, that is what is captured as far as I can see. That's what I get a sense of. Thank you.
Thank you, Niji. Yeah. No, when you were sharing this longing, there is a Italian saying by old kind of from past Italian monk, mystic monk, which says, "Thou art the love with which I seek thee." So when there is this longing in the being, that's what the mystic says, that thou art the love with which I seek thee. So this longing itself is the proof of your presence. Because if you are not there, if there is nothing there, if the divine does not is not there, is not present, then why would the longing be still there? And as we were discussing in earlier sessions, some other sessions also, that if I am hungry, it's a my hunger is a proof of food being available. I may not have access to it, but my hunger is a proof of, yes, there is something that will fulfill this hunger. And just like that, when a longing, yearning on this spiritual path for something deeper, for something fulfilling in our life arises, that longing itself is divine's presence, the signal of divine presence. So that really was something which stayed with me, still stays with me. That, and again, mother shares that those who choose God, those who choose divine, are chosen by the divine. So it again refers to the same thing, that if I have a longing on this path, if I have a longing, although as you said, beautifully, that it's not visible, we cannot touch it, feel it, or many a times we have a feeling that we have lost it. So it's actually a mystery, and one has to just be very content with the longing of the divine itself. Yeah. So then again and again, that talks about all the mystics, how they were not very, I would say, all the mystics, if we read about them, they have suffered, they have suffered with this longing, intensity of longing. And we cannot say that they were fulfilled without the longing. And in another one, by Bulle Shah, he shares that if in human birth you do not develop at all the longing to be one with God, or to seek God or divine in any which form that you like, then your life is as good as a dead life. It has not really taken birth. So he says that jis tan birha na upje, jo tan so tan jaan masan. So us body ko, that body, that human birth is almost like a lash or a dead body, in which there is no seeking or yearning towards perfection, progress, or the divine. So again, another few names for the divine. Yeah, so absolutely with you here, the longing aspect, where he says that, and I plunge with all my heart into the deep of a fathomless longing, I lose myself. And there is where we find rest, losing ourselves in the longing. that there is no person now longing. So there is a person and a person is longing. The person is gone or become one with the longing, and all that remains is the longing only. And there is where one finds rest. Yeah. Yeah, so I would invite more reflections if there are any by others also. Yeah, anything? Okay, so if not anything, let's move forward. So there is this little one I liked. I don't know why, but let's see if we can go through this. Yeah. So again, this is one of the poems, freely written poems by him. Just found it on the web only. If there is nothing but pain in loving, then why is this love? What folly is this to claim her heart because you have offered her your own? With the desire burning in your blood and madness glowing in your eyes, why is this circling of a desert? He bankers for nothing in the world who is in possession of himself. The sweet air of the spring is for him, the flowers, the bird songs, but love comes like a devouring shadow, effacing the whole world, eclipsing life and youth. Then why seek this mist that darkens existence? So this one particularly I could resonate a lot with, uh, again coming from human experiences, and yeah, open to sharing and reflection. Let us take a pause and share.
So I feel though by itself, this particular form of love is not means to the end, but I feel it's a very important part of the vital that, uh, triggers the psychic in a beautiful way. It could be a beginning of a spiritual path, so that is why it's important also, though by itself, like it is very limited. And you could say like, okay, yeah, shallow also, if like, if you want to say. But then yeah, for someone who really understands this, it could be a very beautiful beginning also to understand something deeper. This won't provide it, but it can begin something.
Yes, Shweta, and Mother and Shorobindu say that I think sure you are aware that the front part of the heart is seat of the usual emotions, vital emotions, desire, ambition, greed, lust, all this wanting, attachment. That is the front part of the heart. That's where we feel the burning sensation whenever you are, jealous, in jealousy with somebody else, or ill will comes, or desire comes. So this front part burns, if you have noticed. And as you have shared, that it is an opening. It makes the wound that we get through all these front vital emotions. It gives us a wound so that it makes an opening, and through which one reaches the depth of the heart, which is, mother says, the psychic being is there in the depths of the heart. So the not the frontal heart, not the front part of the heart. And she does not refer to the physical heart, she refers to the emotive heart. It's not like she's saying that in the depth of physical heart you would find something, not something like that. But yeah, I resonate with what you shared, that it can be a beautiful opening or a beginning to a spiritual journey, and getting more and more deeply in touch with your truer self, deeper self. Yeah. Yeah, anyone else, please go ahead.
Hi, everyone. There's just a few lines that jump out at me that I thought to speak on. Because as a whole, I don't feel like I fully grasp it, other than just a little hint. And so the overall sense, this hint of it, is just simply I think it's been said already, but for me, it's like the futility of desire, and in Mother Sri Aurobindo's yoga, this pulling, so that first part with the desire burning in your blood and madness glowing in your eyes, why this circling of a desert? So it's like when there's this element of pulling on the force or on God or the divine, then it's like a desert, because the desire and the very efforting blocks one from the very thing one is searching, So I feel like that's there. I'm very curious what this word bankers as a verb means, because I can't even find it. I was looking for it in the dictionary. I was like, okay, I've never seen it used like that, so I'm not sure. I'm assuming he bankers for nothing in the world, like he doesn't lack for anything, who is in possession of himself. And I feel that's really beautiful, if indeed bankers means that that if one is fully within and at one with the deeper self, and that essence of wholeness that is God, divinity, the mother within, then there's nothing that needs to be searched for outside. And I think that means also God. Oh, I'm getting in this moment. So you don't have to run for God on the outside, because it's already here. And then that fullness stops all that desiring. And my favorite line is this one, the sweet air of the spring is for him. The flowers, the bird songs. I just liked it as is for him. It's like the isness of, the present moment. Yeah, and I find it a bit of an anomaly, but love comes like a devouring shadow, effacing the whole world. And it's like, yeah, because it has it almost seems to have a negative connotation on love, and especially because why seek this mist that darkens existence? So it's like love devouring, eating everything up, effacing the whole world, like destroying the whole world, and then something about darkens existence. So it seems to me then is again looping back into that seeking element, the pulling element, of whether it's a human being one thinks I can pull the love from, or the divine, and that's what darkens existence. So perhaps this is looping from our external consciousness at times into the deeper depths, and then we forget and we end up back at the external consciousness and this constant journey of life. Yes.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing, Swapna. Yeah. Yeah, anyone else would like to share next? So I feel that it feels a little obvious. I may be incorrect, but it feels to me that this is a reference to the human love that we know of, what we call as falling in love. Um, and we call it love, right? We don't call that this is my lust or greed or, pull towards you. We call it love. So Mother and Sri Aurobindo, when they refer also, they call that the human kind of love, the love that we know as human beings. And those of us who have really fallen in that kind of love, if we can, for the time being, let us use the term love for that, because it is in alignment with the poem here. If there is nothing but pain in loving, then why is this love? And I can actually very deeply resonate with this, because I felt that I fell in love, and I went through a deep pain in that love, because I saw that the other lines is, what folly is this to claim her heart, because you have offered her your own. So it is like, because I am giving you my heart, I want something back in return. This is what human love is about. Yeah. So human love is it's not like an unconditional love that, okay, I have love for you in my heart, and whatever do you do does not matter. That's not what human love is about. Usually what we find, especially the ones, where we say falling in love, there is this kind of an expectation that if I can give you mine, why can't you give me yours? So what folly is this to claim her heart? Folly, it's an error. It's an error, because you have offered her your own. So why this folly? If you have offered your own, then it's your problem, not hers. So what is this error of or almost we are actually wronging the other, because I am expecting that because I can give you mine completely wholly, give me yours. And this is what becomes the reason for torture and pain in romantic or even intimate relationships. Yeah. Again, I'm just extrapolating according to my own understanding. Please be with me. With the desire burning in your blood, and again, whoever has been in such kind of a love, I have tasted desire. I can say for myself that I have tasted desire. With the desire burning in your blood, that why can't the other person give me their share of love? This pulling aspect that Swapna was sharing. With the desire burning in your blood and madness glowing in your eyes, the madness to to pull, the madness to have from the other, owing to the fact that within yourself you don't feel complete. You feel highly lacking in within yourself. You're not in possession of yourself. You're possessed by the desire. You're possessed by the expectations and demands. You're not possessed within yourself. The consciousness is not ingathered. There is an expectation or a demand from the external situation or person that it will provide me fulfillment. Fulfillment is not something which is in my possession. Yeah. So with the desire burning in your blood and madness glowing in your eyes, why can't I get it from her or him? Why is this circling of a desert? Desert, you don't find water in a desert. It's a dry desert. And everything, most of the time, what we see is a mirage in desert. Yeah. So really, am I going to get it here? Am I going to get the fulfillment that I am seeking, I am craving for through this love? Yet I am still finding myself circling through this desert. Yeah. And then he says, as Swapna hinted at, beautiful lines, he bankers for nothing in the world who is in possession of himself. This reminded me immediately of a Kabir couplet. चाह गई चिंता मिटी मनवा बेपरवाह जिनको कुछ नहीं चाहिए वो शाहन के शाह. So he says that all my seekings and desires and longings have gone. चाह गई, and my anxieties and worries have also gone. चाह गई चिंता मिटी मनवा बेपरवाह. Now my mind is free, liberated. It does not worry at all. जिनको कुछ नहीं चाहिए वो शाहन के शाह. So he says the one who does not want anything from the world, that one is the true emperor, king of his being, master of his being. Because he has found within what we look outside, in people, in situations, in life happenings. He has found within that particular stuff that we were looking for fulfillment. So he bankers for nothing in the world who is in possession of himself. And who is in possession of himself also reminded me of Mother talks about self-mastery. Mother talks that if we are in touch with the inner being, only then we can have a little mastery over our being. Otherwise, we will be possessed by all the forces that are animating in existence. Sometimes desire will come, sway me away. Sometimes anger will come, sway me away. So otherwise, I will be just possessed by everything. But the one who has touched something deeper in itself, only that one will become able to become master of himself, in possession of himself, and not being possessed by thoughts, emotions, greed, lust, desire, all that goes on as a human being. And again, you touched upon it beautifully, that now I am at rest with myself, and Unniji was pointing at being in the present. Only then I can be here, because I don't want anything from external world. I'm fine, I'm okay with myself. The sweet air of the spring is for him. So now I can be here and I can actually taste the bounties of the divine, which are forever 24/7 present, but I am not there because I'm hankering after my desires. So now I can have enjoyment with the bird which is singing, the child or an infant who is playing, or the little joys and pleasures of life, the touch of pleasant cool breeze, or the heat, or the sweat of the heated air. All that is now for me, because now I am available. Now I'm not in my thoughts running after my ambitions and desires. Now I have found that, okay, all that I want is contentment, peace, and progress and joy. And that I have right now. I don't need to go in future and lose my present if I want to be content. Yeah. So now the sweet air for the spring is for him. The flowers, the bird songs, all these bounties of universe are for me now. But love comes like a devouring shadow, as if it eats us up. And I could resonate in this sense, that I felt that when love, so-called human love, comes to us, it shows us a mirage. It tells me that wahan milega, there I will find contentment. It shows me a mirage. It's like a shadow, devouring shadow. It eats my present up. Every time I'm hankering after that person, that when that person will be there in my life, when he gives or she gives whatever I demand, only then I will have contentment, peace, and happiness. And that is like a devouring shadow on my present, which was fulfilled. And being there, done that, I can much resonate, if I am resonating correctly, that love comes, so-called human love, comes like a devouring shadow, effacing the whole world, eclipsing, things can become very dark and painful in such kind of a human love, eclipsing life and youth. Then why seek this mist that darkens existence? Now, although, as Shweta, I think, already touched upon this, that although it may bring me pain, it may bring me suffering, but through suffering, a deeper door opens in my being, which directly goes to the psychic being, or the inner being, or the soul, or the divine essence. So that is the beauty of going through suffering. It may appear on the surface that maybe I've done something wrong, that's why suffering is there for me. But we don't know the ways of grace and divine workings, that through that wound of suffering, through that wanting bliss from someone else and not getting it, we are driven deeper inside the being, and through that crack in our heart, some other door opens, which is full of light and contentment and joy. So again, I feel it's a total mystery, you know, what appears to be and what is actually, and what is actually we have no idea of. We can just touch upon it in through our own experiences, but truly beautiful, you know. I could deeply resonate with this one in particular. Yeah, please share if there is anything.
You know, Monica, I can see how you would say that it's like primarily like our human love for another human being, or at least that's how I understood you were explaining it. But I also see that these qualities are there for when, like, when I run after the fulfillment or a sense of satisfaction, which is even when I know it's ultimately from the divine, but when I run after it in that kind of crazy way, or especially if there's pain and suffering and this kind of desperate need for help, then it can be this kind of element of trade, even say with the Divine Mother, the her, you know, what folly is this to claim her heart because you've offered her your own, you know, but this somehow leaden with expectation of when her answer should come and how it should come. So I still see that double meaning of a person, human being, as well as when I humanize the divine and then run after her, him as a person, you know?
Yes, Swapna, I think I resonate with that. Yeah, absolutely. One could take it there as well. And that's why I shared that the pulling aspect that you were sharing, that we try to pull the divine towards us, and Mother has warned us against that also. So, yes, absolutely resonate. Yeah. 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 So, anything else at this, anyone?
Just a small point which struck me was the similarity between this and the previous poem that we uh, went through. The frustration element, you know, that you seek, you don't get it, and therefore you're frustrated. The same element comes here also. In that sense, these two are very well selected. Thank you.
I
Yeah.
think
Thanks. Yeah. Yeah, Shweta, please go ahead.
I think this experience, though it's a human experience, I think it's the first experience. If you really have experienced it, it would be your first taste of divine. Like the taste of unknown, because you're not working with the known things. Like when you fall in love, and when it is like human love, so be it. But like it's your first taste of I can talk for myself, like it's your first taste of something that is unknown, beautiful, and uh, yeah, very spiritual, sacred, so though it is limited in itself, but it could be a first taste of that sacred feeling, which leads to further like opening. Yeah.
Totally with you, Shweta. Totally. Yes, yes, absolutely. Yeah. You know, when we say that there is in every grain of existence, there is nothing but the divine, then it cannot be that even so-called the little form or petty form of human love is not having the divine element, definitely. And I completely resonate when you say that it gives us something beautiful and new in life, although that's another fact that it also opens the door to pain. But then pain can be only felt by people who are alive, so it gives also us a feeling of being alive. We are not stones, we are human beings. So it's good that it hurts, because then that tells me that we are alive. So absolutely with you there. Yeah.
Absolutely. And that pain also is the reason you try to seek for more understanding, right? Like you seek something, okay, why, like why is this pain there? And I think, yeah, it's for me, I feel it was the beginning of spirituality. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely, totally with you. Yeah. Okay, so let's take a couple more, if we can. Let's see, just a second. Yeah, this is beautiful. So let us take this up. I found this also very beautiful. Very little poem, not a long one. Delusions I did cherish, but now I am rid of them. Tracing the track of false hopes, I trod upon thorns. Again, I think, again, in continuation with what we were sharing in earlier ones, I feel I trod upon thorns to know that they are not flowers. I shall never trifle with love, never play with the heart. I shall find my refuge in you on the shore of the troubled sea. Divine comedy, I would say. Yeah, please, I'll just mute myself and take a pause, and then we can share.
I just want to say it's beautiful.
Yeah, please share. Anyone, if anyone is ready, please go ahead, unmute and share.
Hi. So I think this is more like, you know, a person reaching the uh, end of everything, whatever we want to achieve in life, so we've gone through all ups and downs in life. And finally, at the end, we realize, that it was here where we were supposed to be. And so this is a basic thing which we all go through our life. You get all kind of experiences. So this is my view, what I came to my mind.
So Chitra, one thing you said, that this is towards the end of our life.
Not the end of the life, sorry.
Yeah.
Like the end of, almost reaching to the uh, uh, not end, not as in the age, but जैसे आपका जो एक पॉइंट ऑफ वो है जहाँ आपको पहुंचना है, रीचिंग, whether it is at the age of 25, 45, 55, the age doesn't matter. So you're reaching there in time and realizing everything what all you've been through. And I think that is part of the life, and everybody goes through that. And only when we go through all this, we understand the beauty of reaching there to the higher realm
Yeah, yeah,
and getting connected to the divine.
yeah. Beautiful. Almost reminds me of your sharing, reminded me of the Kabir couplet, which I have often shared. दौड़त दौड़त दौड़िया जहां लगी मन की दौड़. So we have ran in every direction possible and trying to fulfill ourselves, our ambitions, our desires, whatever. दौड़त दौड़त दौड़िया जहां लगी मन की दौड़, दौड़ थके मन स्थिर भया तो वस्तु ठौर की ठौर. So this is what I remembered when you were sharing, that there is a deeper understanding that what the contentment, the fulfillment that we are seeking outside, in people, situations, life happenings, that is not to be found there. So as you were sharing, a deeper realization or an understanding comes.
Yes.
And it can happen anytime, does not depend on the age. Yeah, absolutely. And
Yeah, and I think, yeah.
yes, Shweta, please go ahead.
So I feel also, the depth, the intensity, the oneness that, like, in the earlier poem that we spoke about, like you take a deep plunge into it, like, so I think that finally we find that match is here, and when you take refuge in, you know, uh, God or the divine, finally वो जो level और wavelength है वो match होता है, I feel. So you feel some, especially when you go through all this, like after all the delusions, I think, yeah, so I think that intensity, I think only with God you will find. And I think that's also within you, basically connecting to your own self. You are the one, and connecting to that, inherent, divinity that, and that is why you were searching it outside. And finally, I think the journey is to become one with yourself, your deep inherent self. Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. Yes, but as we were sharing, we all, Chitra ji shared that we all have to go through somehow these delusions, that somehow this aspect of Maya, or, when we talk about this other couplet by Kabir, where he shares that the fragrance is coming from deer's own navel, but he keeps on looking it outside. So the contentment that I know of, or maybe have a memory of, or maybe have a taste of, I keep on looking it outside, but I never really find it, and until I come back home to myself. And there I see that it was always with me 24/7. So yeah, absolutely. And the other thing that amuses me is that when we talk of the divine, for example, that, or when we talk of coming back home to ourselves, and the other metaphor that is used for the divine, that he is absolute, everything came out of absolute nothingness, no thingness, that it cannot be called as a thing. So when I am actually being with the divine presence within, I can also say that I'm actually with nothing. That I am there, I'm back home to myself, and I'm there with nothing. But this nothing, Sri Aurobindo, talks in detail about it, that this nothingness is not a nothingness which is absolutely empty. Although it appears as that, it is full of latent powers, latent, capacities of human existence, which can be slowly, when we remain with ourselves, so-called ingathered consciousness, then slowly we are able to, wake up those inner faculties or inner strengths which are lying in that so-called nothingness. So that also amuses me a lot. It's almost appears like a mystery. Yeah, please share, anyone else.
But nothingness, as you said, uh, we actually run after this nothingness also. We keep running for this only. And in the when I say in the end, doesn't mean that the end of the life, but in the end, I mean when you actually open the door and you reach that your destination. So in the end, you actually like just this couplet as it says, ki, I will not fall in love, I will never play with any heart. So then you realize कि अब नहीं करूंगा, यही मुझे चाहिए था. सो वो जैसे आपने अभी कबीर जी का दोहा पढ़ा पढ़ा कि दौड़ते दौड़ते वहीं पहुंचा जो आपको चाहिए था, और इसी के पीछे ही हम लोग भागते हैं.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyone else?
It's interesting for me. This one has the one that's the most likeness to human love. Human meaning this kind of romantic love, and of course realizing like the journey of seeing the delusion of it. Yet, you know, it's like delusions I did cherish, but now I am rid of them. It's like because one is rid of them, because tracing the track of false hopes, I trod upon thorns to know that they're not flowers. So like the number of times when, you know, or I have embarked on some romantic relationship and adventure thinking it's going to be full of flowers, and then you realize all those thorns. And I like this, I shall never trifle with love. Because trifle makes it seem like, oh, you know, it's something small. I won't play around with it. I won't just play it with it as a toy, and never play with heart. And then I think heart is that superficial layer, the emotional center, versus the deeper center behind that you had spoken of earlier. You know, but just this I shall never trifle with love. It's like to realize, like, wow, I used to, you know, it wasn't just trifling, it was seeing it as something like romantic love as the be all and end all, or, you know, somehow holds hope of freedom, or, you know, all the romantic stuff that one, especially as a teenager or young person, has and believes. And then maybe a corner holds on to it till absolutely you see it's just thorns, you know. And yet I like in this analogy to this kind of romantic love, human level, I shall find my refuge in you. So here being then the divine on the shore of the troubled sea. So this hope of how to navigate a romantic relationship, which is simply find refuge in that something deeper and be on the shore of the troubled sea, because love at a human level is often a troubled sea. This hope that this is how to get through it, or how to even be in a human romantic relationship. It's like constantly find refuge on the shore with God. Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. You know, that's why I think this troubled sea may be a reference to what has been called in Hindi language, you know, as Bhav Sagar, Bhavnao ka Sagar. You know, the world has been called as Bhav Sagar, and it's mostly at the level of emotions that we find that we are troubled. You know that yes, thoughts also are participating with emotions, but that's where it burns us, and that's where we feel so troubled and in pain and in suffering and misery, and that's where we seek comfort in the divine, that you know, please save me from this terror and suffering after we have gone through a bit of beautiful time also. Yeah. And also, you know, this trifling aspect that you were sharing, Swapna, so it feels to me that so even so-called romantic love or other kind of love also, you know, love between uh, family members or love between friends, I feel that they come more of as a happening. You know, they come to us, it's like they were given to us as a gift. Now the thing that happens, and again it may have its own good reasons to happen, takes us somewhere deeper, that we hanker after it. So just like you go to a temple and all you get it up is a prasad, you know, a little bit of prasad, and you are content with that prasad. But what happens in our human relationship is that these relationships or love in any form comes to us as prasad, like a gift. But the greed of the mind and the desire and the, you know, all these aspects, they make us run after it as if that is not there in my life, I am incomplete. And that is where we begin to trifle with it and spoil almost the whole affair, if I can say. Although not to say that the spoiling is the end of it, that also has its own you know, repercussions and learnings and deeper understandings, takes you further to the divine, most cases. But I have felt personally that that's what we do, that things are given to us without asking, or maybe with asking, but they are given to us, and then we just want it, and in that I trifle with love, never play with heart. I shall never trifle with love. So I think this pull and push and pull and push, that is something which takes the sacredness away from that little gift of love that I got, where I could have been content. But again, as we have to go through human experiences, only through experiences and delusions that I did cherish, but now I am rid of it, he says. There only we realize that, okay, maybe it was never to be found there. It was just a gift to be enjoyed, to be savored, just like a bird song, just like a, sunset sky. And that's all. I should not be hankering after it, because that becomes a pain in the ass, the hankering after these little gifts of life. Yeah. Yeah, and ultimately, I think Shweta already in the beginning touched upon that. That's this love, this human kind of love, actually, because it breaks us and expectation and demands are entangled with it, and it breaks our heart again and again, so-called emotive heart, the frontal heart. And there we see that we will have to find a refuge. We all that we seek is a little bit of peace from that suffering, and then only we go to a deeper door that opens within us, that we find rest in the feet of the divine, within the indwelling divine, or we come home to ourselves and are content with our own selves. And that's where, I shall find my refuge in you, on the shore of the troubled sea, the Bhav Sagar of conflicts, emotions, and all the entanglements. And I think I would say, I personally see this as all this as a very, very cheap bargain, in order to come to the refuge at the feet of the Lord. So I would just, that's how, I would see my cancer, for example, that it is just a very, very cheap bargain, that if in this life you have gotten a taste, owing to no matter how many challenges in life, that there is a contentment, happiness, and joy possible uh, within also. I think that's something which is a cheap bargain. Give the price for it and be with it. Yeah. So please share if there is anything more.
So one other piece in this, I shall find my refuge in you on the shore of the troubled sea, that in the moment, we've touched upon the value of the present moment and being present. So in a emotional situation, like you were saying, it's just at the level of feeling and thought that there's all these thorns and the pain, right? So just the stepping back. I feel like that's this indication of just in the moment, just to step back, even those few moments, take a breath, step back from the whatever feels heated or too emotional or something, and then one getting a different clarity.
That's beautiful. Yeah, absolutely with you. Absolutely. I think this one of the teachers which I really like, who I really like, Rupert Spira. He touches upon this aspect that, uh, to more and more get rooted slowly, uh, knowing that I am the one who is aware of the ups and downs of emotions and ups and downs of the movements of thoughts, or physical sensations. I am awareness, I am awareness, I am awareness. And that is where I would relate your stepping back from it, because I'm just observing it from a distance. Usually I was just entangled with it and taking all the steps and actions from it. And now, because I've had enough, it's not that I have not had enough, I've had enough, and now I want to change the game. I step back and I see that I don't really have to take an action from the heated up thing. I can step back, be aware of my being awareness, that it's owing to my being aware that I am able to see the thought happening. Otherwise, without awareness, there is no thought. The thought exists only in awareness. So that really, really benefits us a lot if this stepping back happens, and it as many times as possible during the day, especially in the so-called sensitive or delicate and heated movements. Absolutely. Yeah.
I just read it somewhere. I don't know where recently I read. It's like within you, there's a mother, a child, and a toy. So when the child goes after the toy, the mother is observing the child. So mother is always aware that what the child is doing, and the child is playing with the toy. So all these, three levels within you only, inside you, that like you're always aware of, what's happening and how your emotions and thoughts are playing. Yeah.
Beautiful analogy. Yes. Beautiful. I think in one of the Kabir bhajans also there is this analogy that you refer to, where he says that, uh, just let me remind myself. He says, "मैं जागूं मेरा सतगुरु जागे, आलम सारी सोवे रे, एक तो जागे hai." So he again in one of the lines, I'll just recollect and share it with you later, where he says that just like a mother, and all of us who have a taste of this motherhood would know that just like a mother, no matter in which room she is there, she always has an ear open, or her senses are always there, as if her being is attached to the child. So wherever the voice comes from the child, or even a happens from the child, the mother knows what to do. She takes the action or whatever. She's aware. So just like that mother who is always aware of the movements of the child, that's what you just shared, and I connected it there. He says that that's how my Satguru, my true Guru, lives in me, always aware of all the happenings of the being. So yeah, really beautiful. Yes. And in the other analogy, he shares that just like a deer who is always scared of, the lion lurking nearby or the tiger lurking nearby, like that, my Satguru, or, the vigilance within me, the awareness within me is always awake, or he does not sleep. He's sleeping, he's on high alert that any attack can come from any time. So just like that, he gives 2, 3 metaphors, beautiful metaphors there. Yeah. So anything else? We can end there here itself also, or we can take one more, whatever you feel like.
I'm happy to do one more, depending on others.
Okay, so let us then conclude with this one, which I think is good for conclusion. It's more like a prayer, I would say. O man, again, one of the poems by Tagore, open poems, free poems. O man divine, sanctify our efforts with the light of thy sacred touch. Dwell in our hearts. Hold before us the image of thy greatness. Forgive our transgression. Teach us to forgive. Guide us into serene fortitude through all joys and sorrows. Inspire us with love, overcoming pride of self, and let our devotion for thee banish all enmity. Found it truly beautiful, very simple, very subtle, more like a prayer or an aspiration. So yeah, feel free to share anything. Yes, anyone, anything? I think it's very pretty clear, straightforward, and we can also not discuss it because it feels like one wants to be with it. You know, just the words itself are so beautiful, very, very clear, very crisp, and we can just be with the prayer also. It's okay if there are no sharings, but if there are any, please share. You know, this line reminds me of in Savitri, there is this line, two lines that I remember often. Through your daily joys and sorrows, you know, through your daily grief and pang of sorrows, move towards God, you know, make your day a daily pilgrimage towards God. So, you know, through joys and sorrows, guide us into serene fortitude, inspire us with love, overcoming pride of self, and let our devotion for thee banish all enmity. Beautiful lines. I think one thing which I would like to maybe say here, I was reading in Mother's texts only that she talks about power of control of thought, and she says that, which I have personally been experimenting with. Also, I have shared earlier also with others that, you know, that whenever a negative or a thought full of maybe sadness or, you know, enmity about others or any ill will, you know, they may just come because there are patterns in us we don't even are aware of, we are not even aware of. So whenever that loop of thought comes, mother says that, you know, reaffirm, in the sense transform that thought, and if you have to think, say that you are thinking in a default mode, think like this, you know, say. And she says almost words like these, that may all ill will be turned into goodwill, may all the disharmony turn into harmony. So instead of thinking in loop about the thoughts that you are having in the head, you know, transform them into this prayer. And this what I read here is also very much in resonance, that instead of, you know, being trapped in the worries and anxieties of the mind and emotions, can I, whenever I feel anything heavy or anything burdening on my head, can I use this as a prayer, you know, or something like this, you know, that forgive our transgression, teach us to forgive, guide us into serene fortitude through all joys and sorrows, inspire us with love, overcoming pride of self, and let our devotion for thee banish all enmity. And you immediately see that there is a changed inner dialogue, you know, where you were getting pulled down owing to the heaviness of thoughts and emotions and past events. You are suddenly back again in the now. You know, you're not bothered about future or the past anymore. So yeah, that's what I would like to share. Yeah, if there is anything, please. Okay, so in absence, I'm assuming that there are no further sharings. I think we can call it a day here also. Thank you everyone for sharing, for joining in, and for reflecting. Beautiful reflections. And yeah, see you next Monday. Thanks. Thank you.
थैंक यू मोनिका जी. जस्ट
Thank
अ
you.
रिक्वेस्ट इफ
हाँ
यू डोंट माइंड,
हाँ हाँ.
आप जैसे वो डालते हैं ना लिंक, लिंक की जगह कैन यू गिव अ पासकोड एंड द मीटिंग आईडी,
Yes, yes, I can do that. I will do that. Yeah.
so that's a little easier, otherwise I have to type the whole link.
हाँ हाँ. I'll give both. So usually I give the link along with the passcode, and
हाँ,
so मैं दोनों अलग अलग से post कर दूंगी. That's okay.
because that's why it took me almost 10 minutes to do that. I did it wrong twice, so that took me a
Oh,
little time to.
no, I will share them separately if that is a problem. Yeah. Thank
ठीक है, ठीक है. Thank you,
you. Okay.
thank you.
Bye.
And it is really wonderful to see, you know, a single para or two lines. So 6 7 members being here, so you know everybody has a different point of view. So एक line का खूब सारे मीनिंग निकल जाते हैं.
Absolutely, absolutely.
That's the beauty of this group,
Yeah,
I guess.
absolutely. And Sri Aurobindo talks about making the mind wide and supple. And I think this exercise really helps us with that, you get to know what the other person thinks about the same lines and your view gets expanded further.
Standard. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Thank you.
And Sapna ji doesn't get, I don't know whether she understands Hindi or not.
No, she does, I
She
believe.
does. Okay.
Not very greatly, but she does understand Hindi.
I don't understand it as well as all of you, but I can understand basics.
Okay. So I was wondering because we sometimes use Hindi words or sometimes we use these sentences. So I was wondering whether she understands or she feels left out,
No, she does understand. Yeah, but she doesn't
That's
speak
great.
that often. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Monica, I had a question, please,
Yeah.
about the Oh Man Divine for this last one, and I was just curious. I was like, why was the word man included? Because it's obviously just speaking to the divine. So is it just a hint at that? Do you think, is it just because the divine is within us, that we're actually spiritual beings, that it's said that way? Or I don't know, I was curious.
Yeah, Swapna, I think it's open for exploration and interpretation. Even I don't know why particularly oh man divine, but maybe if someone else has any reflection upon it, let's share. Yeah, if someone knows why, or maybe where could be hinting at. Yeah.
Things, it seems to me that it's just about the promise of the divinity in ourselves, and so it's like addressing the divine at that level. That's the best I have.
I think that's beautiful. Yes, absolutely. I think that's really beautiful. You remind me of when Sri Aurobindo talks of this capacity that human being where he is right now, then he talks about life divine, human being where he is right now, he is not his best self, and there is a lot of animalism in the human being, and he's capable of being a godhead and turning into man divine. Absolutely, I think I would resonate with that. Yeah. But for that the path has to be trodden, and one has to really get deeper and deeper in touch with our own true essence, and then no turning back towards animalism. Yeah, there are higher possibilities which await the man currently. Yeah. And that's where Mother and Sri Aurobindo would talk about superhumanity and divine being manifest totally in the man that is there. So that is something beautiful. The things that Sri Aurobindo and Mother, I'm sure you are aware, have shared through their words, and the possibilities they have opened up for the current existing man. If we look at them, if we plunge ourselves into that literature, we'll be actually amazed where we are right now and where we can be. And then he talks about the powers that are latent within each human being, and how each human being is a genius, but we don't allow ourselves to blossom and flower. So I think you took it absolutely in a beautiful direction. Thank you for touching upon that. Yeah. Okay, so beautiful. Everyone, thank you so much for sharing and reflections. And yeah, goodbye. See you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.